You are listening to the Delay and Pray podcast with Beth Bubick, episode number 4.
Welcome to the Delay and Pray podcast, where certified Catholic and weight loss coach Beth Bubick teaches you how to permanently lose weight through spiritual fasting. Get ready to gain faith and lose weight through a joyful transformation of both body and soul. Now, your host, Beth, the Catholic fasting coach.
Hey everyone. Well, we're getting close to the end of Advent, closer to Christmas, and closer to the end of the year as well. This is an exciting time to learn how to spiritually fast and lose weight for the last time. Yes, that means now, during Advent. This means getting healthy in both body and soul a little bit before Christmas. Remember, what is good for the body is good for the soul, and vice versa. So I'm going to tell you that this is definitely going to be the best Christmas I've ever had pertaining to my weight and the ability to spiritually fast. As you know, I've been working on this for years now, and I have finally reached a place where I can hold space for myself and really stop and think about whether I want to consume that next helping or if I really want that next drink. I do. I stop and I think and I pray. Before learning how to spiritually fast, I didn't really think at all. I just had an urge to eat, and I usually ate, a lot of times to my detriment. I would make plans, but not really follow through, and I was really frustrated about that. But this isn't the case anymore. I have learned to hold space, and learning to hold space for myself and others came to me through Catholic mindset coaching. Now I am less impulsive and just a bit more thoughtful when it comes to the decisions that I make on a daily basis. When it comes to eating, I'm always thinking about what day it is, who I'm praying and fasting for, what food is on my protocol, and what my calendar is directing me to do. I don't revolve my life around food. Food fits into my life where I want it to fit. And that is why Christmas Day of this year, 2022, is going to be so amazing because I already have it planned out. That is a great feeling. And I know I have confidence in myself that I can actually do it. Good food simply feeds my body and soul as I have learned how to plan my eating and how to eat to enough. The definition of the word enough is as much as required. Not too much and not too little. So although I am actually spiritually fasting during Advent at this time, I already know what I'm going to feast on Christmas Day because I've done it so many times and I know what enough is for my own body, even in a feasting state. So practicing eating to enough on eating days helps me to be very successful on fasting days and not to overeat on feasting days. Eating, fasting, and feasting is really the essence of my program. And it's taken me a while to learn it, but I'm telling you, it is the answer. It really works day in and day out. So the way that I have set up my Delay and Pray online course is to divide the week into a regimen that can be followed all year round so that it becomes natural to fast every week. And this is what I call the Eat, Fast, Feast calendar. So here's how this works. Every week, we eat normally on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We fast on Wednesday and Friday, and then we feast on Sunday. So when I mentioned before that I think of what day it is, this is why. Because every day of the week does have a purpose and a meaning behind the food and alcohol I'm actually consuming and the activities that I'm doing. So after practicing for a couple years, my mind and body know exactly what is to be done on each day so that I have more mental energy to spend on things other than my weight and meals. It's a lot easier to consume just the right food, and I don't have to spend valuable time figuring it out on the fly, like what I'm going to be eating every day and how much I'm going to eat. I just eat to enough, what I have planned. My food is planned according to the day, and this is easily done. And this is habit. And this is what helps with losing the weight permanently and learning how to fast on Wednesdays and Fridays. It's out of habit. So there is a definite learning curve and lots of failure at the beginning, but just like everything else that you have to learn, it does become much more easy with practice. Here is what the Eat, Fast, Feast regimen typically means. It means eating normally on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. This is eating what you want at all 3 meals, except for sugar, flour, processed food, and alcohol on those particular days. And you have to think about it like this. These are little self-denials and fasts that are delayed until Sunday and offered up to God on all these days in the name of your spiritual goal. The food plan on these days will consist of vegetables, good fats, protein, and healthy grains of your choosing. The mindset coaching begins right here. You want to train your brain into shifting into love and abundance on these days with food. You are loving yourself and others by consuming whole foods that are nourishing your body and soul, as well as changing the world with your sacrifice and prayers. You are nourishing your body for the obvious reasons that the concentrated substances that you are delaying will not be causing glucose spikes in your bloodstream or insulin responses that cause unwanted fat storage and health problems. Because that's what sugar, flour, and processed food does. It actually creates inflammation in your body if you have those very, very often and in large amounts. So if we delay them until the weekend, until Sunday, you're going to get a health benefit out of that. And that is the obvious part of the nourishment. Nourishing your soul then starts to happen by you just having an awareness that you don't have to give in to every urge with food and alcohol if it's not on your plan. You don't have to fall into gluttony with these foods that cause over-desire, over-hunger, and overeating. You have a choice. Sugar, flour, and alcohol can be minimized, delayed, and structured any way that serves your highest good. This is possible. In fact, as I've said before, it is optimal. These are eat days, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. These are the days you get to partake in the great experiment of what is actually healthy for your body and what foods agree with you and what foods do not. The great experiment also includes stopping the eating when you have had enough. Enough begins in your body. You can actually start to feel it in your body when you're full enough to stop eating. It's often comes in like the form of like a sigh in your body. And then you can actually use your mind to stop eating. This is practicing eating to enough on eating days. There are a few tools that I use in the program, such as the planned food protocol and the hunger scale to help facilitate eating to enough. This also pertains to drinking alcohol as well. You can actually drink to enough. And then, of course, we coach on all that remains. What happens when you're over drinking? What happens when you're overeating? We can coach on why you decide not to stop at enough. All right, well, let's go on to the fasting days. So these days are Wednesdays and Fridays. Fasting on Wednesday and Friday means abstaining from meat and eating either just a little less food or a little less often on these days. This is a gradual program. So just abstaining from meat on these days, along with the delaying of sugar, flour, and alcohol to the weekend, is a perfect start. That will be hard enough. That is sacrificial enough right there. Remember, we're not going to be as physically hungry as we're actually going to be emotionally hungry, because our bodies are going to want the effects of the sugar and the flour and the alcohol. They're going to want those dopamine hits that we're actually not getting from those concentrated substances. And then, of course, if we're just used to eating meat on Wednesdays and Fridays, we'll have to decide not to. And that, again, might make us like emotionally hungry. Like, I want the meat, but I'm not going to have it today. And so you'll feel a little lack there that you just have to shift into that love and abundance with yourself, with how you're giving for others, thinking about your health and all those beautiful positive things in order to be able to do it. It's all about motivation right there. So we can certainly be physically full to enough without those substances, for sure. But our minds at first will want to tell us, oh, we're so deprived. When my clients first start this process, a lot of times the thoughts will come up like, this isn't working, or I feel so deprived. And that's just because our brains are just used to those dopamine hits, and our bodies are used to the habit of having it. So when you actually are delaying that, you're changing habits, and doing that can be a little challenging, So because all those substances are giving us such big dopamine hits, we can start to learn how to get the dopamine hits from the actual accomplishment of delaying and serving others with our food intake instead of actually consuming sugar, flour, and alcohol. And this, my friends, is the best dopamine hit ever. So the fasting days can involve intermittent fasting as well, if you're accustomed to an intermittent fasting routine, but it's not necessary at first. The delay of sugar, flour, and alcohol will be hard enough and give you both weight loss and health benefits as well as spiritual advantages as you find yourself going to the sacraments way more often on these days. That's going to give you a double win all around on those days. Then on Sundays, you get to have small feasts of any sugar, flour, and alcohol item you want, or all three. You will figure it out. That's what the great experiment is all about, is figuring out how much of these substances your body can actually tolerate in order to go back on track on Monday for a normal eat day. We celebrate Sundays as the day of the Eucharist. We celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ and that he came down to earth to save us and heal us. That is what the name Jesus means, to save and to heal. We can celebrate that great day every week if we choose. Sunday is a feast day, not a binge day, but a celebratory feast day. And you will quickly learn that the delay totally works in setting your mind at ease, that you actually need not give up sugar, flour, and alcohol forever on this program. You can just delay it to that magnificent day of the week called Sunday. So it's funny, my daughter lives in Kansas and my son bought me a sweatshirt when we were visiting, and it says Sunday Fun Days on it for the NFL football team, Kansas City Chiefs. And I love it. And that is kind of how I think about my Sundays now. It's like Sunday Fun Day. I mean, there's worship and definitely reverence at Mass, but trying not to work, trying to enjoy, trying to rest. I just love it. And I wear it on Sundays. That is really what Sundays are meant to be, set apart from the other days of the week. So I hope you will help me in bringing back Sunday Fun Days for all the right reasons, especially the resurrection. All right, so getting back to the Eat Fast Feast schedule, I use the Eat Fast Feast calendar for our food regimen all year round, and also to schedule weekly sacraments for filling up with grace. The delay and pray experience can only be successful with both the delay of the food, but then the added prayer within the sacraments. Again, this is the double win for everyone involved. This is where vices can be seen and confessed, and virtues can be grown in their place over time. I mean, if you think about it, if you're overeating and you know you're doing it, but you have no idea why, or you can't stop it enough, then there is some vice going on that can be tackled by some great introspection, lots of prayer, sacraments, good coaching, and then just some good old elbow grease to get to work to figure it all out. So you have to do the work to actually get the job done when it comes to spiritually fasting. This is truly the great experiment. And it's amazing with the coach to guide you through how easy it is to make virtuous strides quickly. So take a moment to make your own Eat Fast Feast calendar and make room in your schedule for prayer, 1 or 2 daily masses, weekly adoration, monthly confession, and then church events that interest you during the week. This really is the first step, and you actually need to put it on your calendar. Then familiarize yourself with the Eat Fast Feast rhythm of the week as it pertains to food to see what adjustments that you can slowly make. In the end, this is not just for eating, but it really is for all the events of your life. Planning to enough will become an amazing skill for all areas of your life with this calendar as you start planning your fasting days around sacramental activities, such as Mass and adoration, as well as mission work and helping others. And you can see why we choose both weight loss goals and spiritual goals. They work together to make you less dependent on overeating to feel good, so that you can fast off food in some way for the good of others and gain optimal health at the same time. The calendar can be used all year round for tremendous transformation of both body and soul in this way. It also follows the church calendar as we treat solemnities and holy days of obligation as the highest feast days, and then we feast on these days. Your family will begin to familiarize themselves with the church calendar and celebrate feast days and solemnity dates that happen during the week. There is no fasting on these days in celebration of the life of Christ and the Virgin Mary. Learning the church calendar is fabulous and helps plan divine celebrations into your week and actually brings the church calendar alive. As humans, and especially as Catholic humans, we love patterns, we love rituals, we love rhythms. We just love repeated patterns. These create good habits with more ease. And then those habits, they turn into virtues. And honestly, virtue is best lived in moderation. I think we've lost sight of virtue, what it is, and really why we need it. We have also lost sight of moderation and what really enough is in our lives. We can all start to focus on acquiring virtue, beginning with spiritual fasting and getting back to the sacraments more often. This is the way we become virtuous. Virtuous people are transformed into saints over time. And believe me, this all takes time. But eventually, your mind and body will recognize that, oh, you know what? It's Wednesday. This is the day that I abstain from meat. And then once you get meatless Wednesdays and Fridays under your belt, then you can begin to start that intermittent fasting to 2 meals on those days, but all the while delaying sugar, flour, and alcohol to the feast day of the week. So it is a trajectory. You step into it over time. And it's amazing how Wednesdays and Fridays become really special days of fasting and prayer. And not only fasting off the food, but the focus on the spiritual fasting as days of healing and sacrifice, not only for yourself, but for others. This becomes really important to you. And you basically start to just really look forward to those days. And then the other days, the eat days, they start helping us prepare for the special fasting days. So just to let you know, the church has always been calling us to spiritual fasting. Jesus and his disciples fasted. Our Lady fasted. We as Christians, we are all called to fast. It's just a forgotten art. Fasting off food combined with prayer brings us closer to Jesus and really does defeat Satan. Jesus himself tells us that some demons can only be cast out by both prayer and fasting. And that is stated many times in the Bible, specifically in Matthew chapter 17, verse 21. And something that I have learned just in the last few years is that oftentimes in certain Bibles, it actually says some demons can only be cast out by prayer, and then the fasting is left off, or it's down in the notes at the bottom. Very interesting. Isn't that interesting? So I think that's telling us that our world needs prayer and fasting right now. Our world needs this type of warfare right now. We need it for ourselves. We need it for our families. We need it for breakthroughs for every area of our lives and others. So please join me in this spiritual fasting. Don't refrain from trying to delay and pray because it's hard. You know that meme that says, choose your hard? This is one of those choices. I mean, choose the difficulty of spiritual fasting and you will not regret it. It's either hard now or hard later. And I prefer hard now. I want the challenges now so that I can get to heaven. And I hope you will join me in that. Why is fasting so difficult? That is one thing that people ask me all the time. And let me tell you, the way to make it less difficult is to learn to delay, because really it starts in the mind. Yes, it is in your biology and your body as well, because you want the dopamine hits, because you want to feel the fullness, because you find comfort in that type of food. But really in your mind is what needs to be tackled, because it's your thoughts about it that is going to see you through the challenge. So fasting is challenging because fasting from food is more demanding than even giving time or money, because you're giving your body. You're giving your flesh in want and in slight hunger. We're just not used to it. Okay, so you have to get used to just a slight hunger at first. It's not easy to be hungry, even just a little bit. And I think it's because we are an instant gratification culture. It takes a bit of work to start delaying things and to get started on spiritually fasting and saying, these are the times I'm going to eat, these are the times I'm not going to eat, and this is the day I will feast. So it takes preparation, it takes thought, regimen, and it takes community. You need support to do it well. It involves changing weekly habits of meals, the reception of the sacraments as a non-negotiable, and possibly cooking differently for family members than yourself. So when I actually fast on bread and water on some Wednesdays and Fridays, I know that my husband isn't necessarily going to do that. And so I cook him a meal or he cooks his own meal, and then I have the bread and water. That is challenging sometimes, but I do it anyway. So like I said, it can be challenging when you first begin, but remember, because it is demanding, it's an offering to God, and that is so important, and you will learn to get used to it over time. You offer this suffering to Him, and He gives you back so much more, including weight loss and optimal health in return. I can only tell you that this is the way to healing and casting out addictions for yourself and others, and to obtain breakthroughs from God for yourself, for your loved ones, as long as they are aligned with God's will. He'll do it. It is amazing to think that we can help save souls by just delaying a little sugar, flour, and alcohol during the week and giving up meat on Wednesdays and Fridays. It really is efficacious. So, are you ready to figure out how to eat to enough? Are you ready to feel better and learn how to do hard things and feel really, really good and get your dopamine hits from accomplishment and from prayer and from living a virtuous life? Then I would urge you to begin spiritually fasting today. Don't wait until January 2nd. You can do it today. Spiritual fasting is the spiritual weapon of our times, and you can start anytime you'd like. Just having an awareness that it's possible is the first step. Our loved ones and the world need this type of spiritual weapon right now. And we need it for our own souls too, because I want to go to heaven and I want you to come with me. All right. I hope you have enjoyed the podcast. I hope that you will start using an Eat, Fast, Feast calendar for your eating. And I wish you luck in that. Have a wonderful week, my friends, and I'll talk to you next week. May God bless you and keep you always. Hey, if you're interested in learning more about spiritual fasting and permanent weight loss, then come join my course, Delay and Pray. It's a 12-week guided course for weight loss through spiritual fasting. And you won't go through it alone either. I will be there to coach you every step of the way. There's 2 options to choose as well: private coaching with me, or join the group coaching program to join an amazing group of like-minded Catholics who have the same goal as you, to lose that weight permanently through spiritual fasting. Both options include the same amazing online course detailing what spiritual fasting is, how to do it, and all the tools you need to get you the results you're longing for. So head over to my website right now, thecatholicfastingcoach.com, and get the details on how to join. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well to always get the latest daily information to keep you fasting, my friends. Can't wait to see you in there. May God bless you and keep you always.